So, you're looking for a clear, step-by-step guide to kickstart your career as a business analyst? Well, you are in exactly the right place. We're about to map out that whole journey for you, from day one all the way to your first day on the job.
Let me ask you something. Are you the kind of person who just loves connecting the dots? Spotting what's not working and then figuring out a better way forward? If that sounds like you, then guess what? You're already thinking like a business analyst.
And that's our promise for the next few minutes. We're going to walk through this exact roadmap together, step by step. It's designed to give you a super clear path from wherever you are right now to landing that first BA job. Okay, first things first. Before we start any journey, we've got to know our destination, right? So, what exactly is a business analyst?
At its heart, a business analyst is basically a translator. They're a bridge. Imagine on one side, you've got the business folks. They have real-world problems and big goals. And on the other side, you've got the tech teams ready to build stuff. The BA, they stand right in the middle, making sure everybody is speaking the same language and working towards the exact same goal.
So, day to day, what does that look like? Well, you're part detective, sniffing out the real issues. You're part journalist, gathering the story and all the requirements. And you're definitely part diplomat, communicating clearly with everyone, from top-level managers to the developers writing the code. All right, so now that we know our destination, it is time to pack our toolkits. To be a really effective BA, there are a few core tools you just have to be fluent in. First up, and yeah, this might surprise you, is the good old spreadsheet. Seriously, just look at this chart. A massive 40% of a BA's work happens right inside tools like Excel. And we're not just talking about making simple lists. Mastering things like VLOOKUPs, index match, and pivot tables, that is your absolute first step. It's a non-negotiable. And here is an absolutely crucial point. If Excel is the starting line, then SQL, well, SQL is the engine. In today's world, you have got to be able to pull your own data from databases. It is not optional anymore. It is 100% mandatory. And finally, you have to be able to visualize your findings, to tell a story with data that people actually understand. The two biggest players in this space are Power BI and Tableau. Now, both are fantastic, but if you're just starting out, putting your energy into Power BI might just give you an edge because it's in super high demand across a ton of different industries right now. Look, having the right tools is great, but they are pretty much useless if you don't understand the language of the people you're working with. And that brings us to our next big section, thinking like a business pro. Don't worry, you don't need a full MBA for this, but you do need to get the fundamentals. How does the company actually make money? Who are its biggest competitors? What are those key metrics, the KPIs, that tell you if you're winning or losing? This business context, it's everything. And hey, here's a little pro tip to really make you stand out from the crowd. Specialize. Seriously, instead of trying to be a generalist, become the go-to BA for e-commerce or banking or maybe healthcare. That domain expertise makes you so much more valuable as a candidate. Okay, you get the role, you've got the tools, and you're learning the language. Now comes the most important part of all, proving you can actually do the job. Think of this as your travel log, your portfolio of projects. Every single strong portfolio project follows this exact flow. You start by defining a clear problem. You gather the requirements and data. You do the analysis. You propose a solution. And then, and this is the most critical step, you spell out the business impact. You always have to answer the question, how did this project save money, or make things more efficient? This right here is a perfect example of how to talk about your work on a resume. Don't just list your tasks. You want to lead with strong action verbs and focus on the result. Analyze 2 years of data is fine, but saying it informed a new marketing strategy, that's what gets you the interview. So here's your mission, should you choose to accept it. Build a portfolio of at least 5 solid projects that follow that structure. And please, don't just hide them on your computer. Showcase them on GitHub and write about your process on LinkedIn. You've got to make your expertise visible. You've done the hard work. You've built the proof. Now it is time for the final stretch, crushing the interview process and landing that job. BA interviews almost always boil down to 2 main types of questions. First, you have technical questions. They test your knowledge of concepts, asking things like, what is a BRD? Or what's a SQL join? Then you have scenario questions. They're all about your experience. They want to know how you'd handle real-world challenges. You need to have solid answers ready for both. For example, I can almost guarantee they will ask you this one. Think about it for a second. How would you handle someone who disagrees with your requirements or pushes back on your recommendations? Having a structured answer ready for questions just like this is absolutely critical. And while you're getting ready, please keep this in mind. Certifications can definitely be useful. They can help your resume for sure, but they are not a substitute for real, hands-on work. A portfolio of 5 strong projects will always be more impressive than a list of 5 certificates. So as we start to wrap up, it becomes pretty clear that being a great BA is about so much more than a list of skills. It's a mindset. It's about being that person who is constantly trying to solve problems, who communicates with total clarity, and who never just presents data without explaining why it actually matters. When you boil it all down, it really just comes down to this simple formula. Your proof of work, your projects, combined with your ability to communicate your findings effectively, that is what makes a strong, hireable business analyst. End of story.
You've got the complete roadmap now. The whole journey starts with just a single step. So the only question left is, what problem are you going to solve first?